His talent was undeniable, and his work delivered results that impressed even the harshest skeptics. Yet for a black employee, it wasn't enough to break through the glass ceiling of racism. When Jason Miller was humiliated and passed over for a well-deserved promotion in favor of a less competent white colleague, he decided to leave and rebuild his future from scratch. 2 years later, his name had become synonymous with success, while his former boss was on the brink of collapse. What Jason did next will astonish even those who've seen it all. But let's start from the beginning. Jason Miller, a 32-year-old black analyst, had been working at the large financial firm Hartley Finance for 5 years. He was considered one of the most promising employees. His analytical reports consistently boosted company profits, and the strategies he developed became key to its success. Despite this, he noticed that his white colleagues with fewer accomplishments were being promoted faster. When a senior analyst position opened up after an employee's departure, Jason, confident in his abilities, applied for the role. A week before the management's decision, he presented a project at a meeting that helped the client save millions. His colleagues praised the work, but Robert Hartley, his white department manager, responded with a curt nod. "Not bad, Miller." The day before the decision was announced, Jason accidentally overheard a conversation between Robert and his assistant in the office kitchen. "Miller? He's just a good executor," Robert said mockingly. "Nothing more. Senior analyst? Way too ambitious for his level." The next day, during a meeting in the conference room, Robert announced that the senior analyst position would go to Dan Stevens, a white colleague of Jason's who had only been with the company for 2 years. After the meeting, Jason approached Robert. "Robert, I want to understand why my candidacy wasn't even seriously considered. I have more experience, better performance metrics, and I've led 3 successful projects this year." Robert barely glanced up from his papers. "Jason, you're a great employee, but Dan has shown stronger leadership potential. Decisions like these aren't always about the numbers. You understand that, don't you?" Jason felt a wave of anger and resentment. For what? Years of hard work? Proven effectiveness? The answer was clear, even if Robert wouldn't say it out loud. That evening, Jason told his wife, Kim, what had happened. After listening attentively, she asked, "Do you really want to keep working at a company that doesn't see your worth?" The question began to weigh on Jason. He realized that this wasn't the first, and likely wouldn't be the last, time his skin color became the unspoken reason for rejection. That same evening, he wrote his resignation letter, deciding once and for all, he would no longer work for those who didn't see him as an equal. This chapter ended with Jason's decision to leave the company, but not to give up. Instead, he set a goal for himself, to prove his worth to the world on his own terms. After leaving the company, Jason realized he had a choice, to remain a victim of injustice or take control of his own destiny. His wife, Kim, supported his decision to start his own business. "You're not just smart, you're determined. If anyone can prove them wrong, it's you." However, starting out wasn't easy. Jason didn't have much capital, and the financial world demanded not only knowledge, but also connections. His first step was creating a business plan. He knew his strengths lay in analytics and strategic development. Jason decided to focus on helping small businesses, which often miss opportunities due to limited resources. He spent sleepless nights researching the market, drafting his plan, and forecasting potential profits. But to get started, he needed funding. Jason turned to his best friend, Marcus, the owner of an auto repair shop. Seeing Jason's passion, Marcus agreed to invest in the project. "You've always succeeded at whatever you set your mind to, Jay. I want to be part of this." With initial capital in hand, Jason registered his company, Miller Analytics. His first steps included creating a website and seeking out clients. To save money, he worked from his living room, while Kim helped with marketing and administrative tasks alongside her full-time job. Finding clients initially proved challenging. Jason visited dozens of local businesses, pitching his services. The responses were almost always the same. "We can't afford this. Why should I trust you over a big company?" One day, he met the owner of a small coffee shop struggling to attract customers. The owner wanted to increase foot traffic but didn't know how. Jason offered his services for free, promising to take a small percentage of the profits only if the strategy succeeded. 2 months later, the coffee shop's sales had increased by 50%. The grateful owner not only paid Jason, but also recommended him to other businesses. This marked a turning point. Jason began receiving inquiries from owners of shops, restaurants, and startups. To keep up with demand, he hired a few young professionals who shared his values. At the same time, Jason recognized that systemic discrimination often held back talented individuals like himself. He decided that Miller Analytics would focus on supporting Black entrepreneurs, who frequently faced bias in banking and investment sectors. His team started offering free consultations to aspiring business owners from underserved communities. Jason also began meeting with investors to create a fund dedicated to supporting such projects. Within a few months, his efforts began to pay off. Local news outlets ran a story about a Black entrepreneur helping others fight bias. The article attracted attention from larger clients, and within a year, Miller Analytics had reached a new level. By this point, Jason had not only proven to himself that he could build a successful business, but had also become a role model for others. His name started circulating in professional circles, and more clients chose his services over those of large corporations, including his former company. This was only the first step in surpassing those who had once underestimated him. A year had passed since the founding of Miller Analytics, and Jason's company was growing rapidly. Thanks to his perseverance, quality work, and mission to support small businesses and Black entrepreneurs, he had become a prominent figure in business circles. His success stories were published in local media, and glowing client recommendations opened doors to larger projects. One day, Jason received an unexpected email on his company's corporate account. It was an invitation to bid on a contract from a major retail holding company that had previously worked with his former employer, Hartley Finance. The contract involved developing a strategy to optimize costs and increase profits across the holding's regional branches. Jason couldn't pass up this opportunity. He knew that winning this contract would be a major blow to his former boss, Robert Hartley. But the competition was fierce. Several market giants, including Hartley Finance, were also vying for the deal. Jason gathered his team and organized brainstorming sessions that went late into the night. He poured all his expertise and knowledge into crafting a proposal that not only outperformed his competitors, but also highlighted the unique approach of his company. 2 weeks later, the results came in. Miller Analytics had won the contract. It was their first major victory over Jason's former employer. To finalize the deal, Jason was invited to the Retail Holdings annual analytics conference. The event was held at a prestigious hotel and attended by representatives of top companies, including Robert Hartley himself. At the conference, Jason attracted significant attention from his peers. His name had already gained recognition thanks to his tender victory, and many were eager to learn more about his business approach. Robert, noticing Jason in the room, initially tried to avoid him, but eventually approached with a forced smile. "Miller, I hear you're running your little company now," Robert remarked with a slight smirk. "Congratulations on the win. Sometimes luck really does make all the difference." Maintaining his composure, Jason replied, "Robert, we both know this wasn't about luck. It was hard work and a strong team effort, but thanks for the congratulations." Robert tried to mask his irritation, but the realization that Jason had become his direct competitor was hard to hide. During his presentation, Jason showcased the case study that had won him the contract. His speech captivated the audience and drew the interest of new clients, many of whom approached him after the event. Some mentioned they had previously worked with Hartley Finance, but were now ready to switch to Jason's company. The highlight of the evening was the official announcement of the partnership between Miller Analytics and the retail holding company. Jason received well-deserved applause, while Robert left the room, barely containing his anger. This victory not only solidified Jason's reputation, but also demonstrated that prejudice and discrimination are weaknesses for those who perpetuate them. Jason now felt that his mission wasn't just to prove his worth, but also to challenge a system that had long ignored talent like his. Another year later, the success of Miller Analytics exceeded all expectations. The company expanded, opening new offices, and became one of the leaders in its field. Its clients now included not only small businesses, but also major corporations, attracted by Jason's innovative approach and his team's dedication. Meanwhile, Hartley Finance, still led by Robert Hartley, began experiencing severe losses. The departure of key clients, including those who now worked with Jason, undermined the company's financial stability. Employees were leaving en masse, and those who stayed complained about a toxic atmosphere and constant pressure. News of Hartley Finance's bankruptcy appeared in business publications 2 years after Jason's departure. For Jason, it was proof that success could be built without bias, and discrimination was a surefire path to failure. Journalists, learning that Jason Miller was a former employee of Hartley Finance, reached out to him for comment. In an interview with a major business magazine, he said, "I left the company because I realized they didn't value people based on their merit. We built Miller Analytics to prove that success is only possible when you respect and support talent, regardless of race or background." These words quickly went viral. Jason became a sought-after speaker at conferences on workplace discrimination. His name became synonymous with fairness and success. Robert, having lost his company, was forced to give a public interview to explain its downfall. During the conversation, he was asked how he felt about Jason Miller becoming a leader in the industry. Lowering his eyes, Robert replied, "I made a lot of mistakes. My biases and unwillingness to recognize the talent of people who were different from me cost me not just my business, but my reputation." These words marked the end of Robert's career. Jason, on the other hand, continued to expand his efforts. He established a fund to support Black entrepreneurs and became a mentor for those looking to overcome systemic barriers. His company also began offering regular inclusivity training sessions for other organizations, including former competitors. The culmination of his journey was an invitation to speak at an international forum, where he delivered a speech that earned a standing ovation. "We live in a world where bias is often seen as the norm, but each of us has the power to change that system. Our success is not just a personal victory, but an opportunity to build a world where talent is valued for its merits, not judged by stereotypes." Jason had achieved everything he dreamed of. He became a symbol of strength, perseverance, and justice. His success was not only a vindication against those who doubted him, but also an inspiration for those striving for equality.